He had everything: power, a kingdom, and a dream of endless wealth. But one wish changed it all. When gold began to follow his every touch, it felt like a blessing, until it turned into a curse. Food became metal, water became solid gold. Even the people he loved were no longer human. What started as greed quickly became a nightmare he couldn't escape. This is the tragic story of a man who got exactly what he wanted, and paid the ultimate price. Stay with us, because this story proves that sometimes getting everything you wish for can destroy everything you need. From the time he was a boy, Elias Thorne had watched the wealthy pass through his dusty village in polished carriages, their clothes shining brighter than the sun. They never looked at people like him. They never noticed the cracked earth, the empty plates, the long nights of hunger. But Elias noticed them, and he made a promise, one that settled deep into his bones like a quiet fire. One day, he whispered to himself, "I will have more gold than any of them." Years passed, and the fire inside him only grew. Elias worked harder than anyone in the village. He took on every job, hauling wood, digging wells, carrying stones under the burning sun. While others rested, he labored. While others laughed, he calculated. Every coin he earned, he hid away. But no matter how much he saved, it never felt like enough. Gold was always just out of reach. And so, his obsession deepened. He stopped attending festivals. He avoided friendships. Even when a kind woman named Lena tried to bring warmth into his life, he turned her away. "I don't have time for distractions," he told her coldly. She looked at him, sadness in her eyes. "You don't want a life, Elias. You want a number." He didn't respond, because she was right. One night when the moon hung low and heavy in the sky, Elias wandered far beyond the village. He had heard what? Spurs. Old stories about a place deep in the forest where wishes could be granted. Most people laughed at those tales. Elias did not. He walked for hours, pushing through twisted trees and thick shadows until he found it, a small clearing, and in the center, a figure. An old man sat beside a flickering fire, his eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. There was something unnatural about him, something ancient. "You've come a long way," the man said, without looking up. Elias froze. You know why I'm here?" The man smiled faintly. "Everyone who finds this place wants the same thing." Elias stepped forward, his heart pounding. "I want gold. Endless gold, more than anyone in the world." The old man finally looked at him. "And what would you give for it?" "Anything." The answer came too quickly. The old man studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Very well. Your wish will be granted." Elias's breath caught. "But remember," the man added softly, "every gift has a cost." Elias barely listened. He was already imagining mountains of gold. When Elias woke the next morning, he was no longer in the forest. He was in his home. At first, everything seemed normal, until he moved. As his hand brushed against the wooden table beside him, it changed. The rough brown surface shimmered, hardened, and turned into pure gold. Elias stumbled back, staring in disbelief. No way. He reached out again, touching a chair. Gold. The floor beneath his feet. Gold. Everything he touched transformed instantly, as if the world itself had become his treasure. A laugh burst from his chest, wild, uncontrollable. "I did it. I actually did it." He ran outside, touching walls, fences, tools, everything turning into gleaming gold under his fingertips. The village would envy him now. No, more than envy him. They would bow. But then, something strange happened. After hours of excitement, Elias felt a sharp pang in his stomach. Hunger. He hadn't eaten. Grinning, he grabbed a loaf of bread from his shelf, but the moment his fingers touched it, it turned to gold. He frowned. "No problem," he muttered. "I'll just get another." He reached for fruit. Gold. Water. Gold. His smile faded. "Wait. No." He tried again, more urgently this time. Another piece of food. Gold every single time. Panic crept into his chest. This isn't right. By the second day, Elias was desperate. His stomach ached, his throat burned with thirst. He tried everything, using cloth, using tools, even trying to catch water without touching it directly. Nothing worked. Anything he came into contact with transformed instantly. Gold, always gold, the thing he had wanted more than anything, had become useless. Worse than useless. Deadly. On the third day, he stumbled through the village, weak and trembling. People gathered around him, staring in shock at the golden objects he left behind with every step. "Elias, what happened to you?" someone asked. He tried to speak, but his voice was dry and cracked. "Help, please." Lena pushed through the crowd, her face filled with concern. "Elias." She ran toward him. "No, wait," he croaked, raising his hand, but it was too late. She grabbed his arm, and in an instant, she turned to gold. Frozen, silent, gone. Elias stared at her, horror flooding his eyes. "No, no, no, no." He fell to his knees, shaking violently. "I didn't mean this. I didn't mean any of this." The villagers backed away in fear. To them, he was no longer a man. He was a curse. Days passed. No one dared come near him. Elias wandered alone, surrounded by the very thing he once desired. Golden trees, golden houses, golden silence. His body grew weaker with each passing hour, his vision blurred. And still he clung to life, dragging himself back toward the forest, toward the place where it had all begun, toward the old man. When he finally reached the clearing, he collapsed beside the fire. The old man was there, exactly as before, unchanged. "You've returned," the man said calmly. Elias could barely lift his head. "Take it back," he whispered. "Please, I don't want it. I don't want any of it." The old man watched him carefully. "Are you sure?" he asked. "This is what you wanted." Elias let out a weak, broken laugh. "I wanted to live." Silence filled the clearing. Then, slowly, the old man stood. "There is always a cost," he said again. Elias reached out, his trembling hand barely inches from the man's robe. "Please." But the old man did not move closer. Instead, he stepped back. "Some lessons," he said quietly, "cannot be undone." Elias's eyes widened. "No, you can't." His voice faded. His strength was gone. By morning, the clearing was silent. Where Elias had fallen, there was now a statue, a figure of pure gold, frozen in desperation. A man who had everything and lost the only thing that mattered. Years later, travelers would pass through the forest and speak of the golden statue. Some called it a miracle, others called it a warning. But those who looked closely, truly closely, could see something in its expression. Not pride, not triumph, but regret. Endless, crushing regret. Because in the end, Elias Thorne got exactly what he wished for, and it cost him everything. He wished for gold, and got it. Every touch turned to riches, every dream became reality, until it didn't. Food became metal, water became untouchable. Even the people he loved turned cold in his hands. What started as a blessing became the cruelest curse. In the end, surrounded by endless wealth, he faced the one thing gold could never buy: life. If this story made you think twice about what we truly value, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more powerful stories like this. Because sometimes the thing we wish for the most can cost us everything.